The ultimate rule of human speed was just broken by Sam Blaskowski. The whole track world is in disbelief right now. Sam recently achieved an incredible, unachievable time jump in a single race, yet professional runners train for years to lose a minuscule fraction of a second. Even sprinting star Gout was utterly astounded by this unprecedented run. How was this explosive power unlocked? Let's investigate. There have been many breakthrough races in track and field history, but none quite like this. Electronic timing displays demand attention when they indicate a jump from 10.05 to 9.89 in a single race. A thorough inquiry is necessary when an athlete's performance makes them the fastest American of the year and the second fastest person in the world. This is what we will dissect. First, the performance itself and the reasons why the data don't fit the typical sprint progression. Second, the technical components that were necessary for this to occur. Third, how this will affect the 100-meter dash going forward and why Gout is paying attention. Like every other track meet, the Music City Track Carnival got underway. Sam Blaskowski lined up in lane 4 with personal best of 10.05, while athletes warmed up on the infield and referees checked equipment. His warm-up didn't hint at what was going to unfold. 8 sprinters squatted into position. The electronic timing system was calibrated, and the starting blocks were set. Blaskowski's response time was tidy, but not exceptional, as he leaped from his starting position as the gun fired. The first 20 meters appeared typical. He was even with the pitch by 30 meters. Something changed at 50 meters. Without sacrificing his mechanical efficiency, he increased the frequency of his strides. One of the most startling sprint performances in recent memory took place on the straightaway. In lane 5, Cameron Crump was having the time of his life and finished second in 9.99. In lane 8, Brandon Hicklin was keeping up with his fastest speed. However, Blaskowski was traveling in a different manner in lane 4. His maximum velocity phase lasted longer than his training history indicated, and his acceleration phase lasted longer than usual. The time at the finish line was 9.89 seconds. Coaches and athletes in the warm-up area were shocked when the electronic display flashed the time. A single race's improvement of 1600ths of a second is equivalent to years' worth of normal development condensed into 100 meters of track. What then enabled this? The first aspect is that the ideal racing conditions were produced by the atmospheric conditions on that specific day. The Music City Track Carnival facility's track surface is renowned for its speed. Additionally, headwinds that usually slow sprint times were neutralized by the weather, resulting in a completely legal plus 1.5 meters per second tailwind. However, a 1600th improvement cannot be explained by environmental factors alone. Something more intriguing is revealed by the biomechanical investigation. 3 significant modifications from Blaskowski's prior races were evident in his stride pattern. He was spending less time in contact with the track surface with each step as his ground contact time dropped. Without overstriding, his stride frequency rose by about 5%. Most significantly, he was able to direct more of his power horizontally rather than vertically because to an improvement in his force application angle. Experts assume a very targeted change in his training approach based on his performance on the track. His drive phase performance indicates a strong focus on reactive strength and force development rate rather than maximum strength. This indicates that rather than only producing maximal power, his muscles become more adept at producing power rapidly. Another important factor was the periodization strategy. The training cycle was created especially for this mid-season competition rather than peaking for a major title. This made it possible to maintain levels of fitness that usually only show up during significant championship windows, while yet being as fresh as possible. It is impossible to overlook the psychological aspect. The burden of being in the quickest qualifiers' preferred lanes was relieved by racing. Because of his positioning, Blaschik was able to concentrate solely on his own racing performance without being distracted by watching other rivals. His acceleration phase was the main area that needed development, according to the performance study. In this race, he demonstrated sustained accelerations until 80 meters, whereas in his prior races, he reached his highest velocity at about 60 to 70 meters. Elite sprinters dedicate their careers to developing this prolonged acceleration phase. The warm-up area's immediate aftermath proved instructive. Coaches and experienced sprinters were examining the electronic timing several times, looking for possible wind readings, and examining the starting mechanism for any anomalies. Multiple timing systems confirmed that the performance was lawful and clean. This is where things started to become very interesting, though. For Sam Blaschik, this performance is more than just a breakthrough. It shows that there may be gaps in our present knowledge of sprint progression. According to the conventional concept, notable time improvements occur gradually over the course of several seasons or years. This contest calls into question that presumption. The racing community's thoughts were perfectly reflected in Gout Gout's social media response. It's clear how surprising his feat was when the under-20 world record holder expresses amazement at another athlete's advancement. The elite sprint community is small, and breakthrough performances like this get noticed immediately. There are important wider ramifications for the 100-meter dash. Other sprinters will be examining every facet of Blaskowski's preparation if training methods and periodization techniques can result in these kinds of performance leaps. It's conceivable that more people will embrace the rate of force development training regimens that help make this breakthrough. Sprint coaches around the world are now studying the technical elements that produce this perfect storm. Environmental factors, training techniques, race strategy, and psychological preparation all work together to produce performance that, given past outcomes, looked unattainable. A sprinter needs more than just raw power to run a 9.89. The transition is the most crucial of the race's several stages. When transitioning from their head-down driving phase to their upright sprinting stance, most runners lose crucial fractions of a second. Blaskowski transitioned more smoothly and maintained his drive phase longer than he had ever done during this particular race. There was no wasted movement in his top-end speed mechanics. Each foot impact minimizes ground contact time by applying maximum force straight into the track. This is significant since it is quite uncommon to shave off tenths of a second at this elite level. It typically takes years of correcting little technical flaws to go from a 10.0 runner to a sub 9.9 runner. Suddenly doing it indicates that a technological or physical switch has finally clicked. The American sprinting roster is utterly upended by it. There are already many elite sprinters in the United States. Now that an athlete has eschewed the custom of standing in queue, seasoned pros are immediately on notice. He is no longer merely a quick potential. He is a real threat on the international scene, making directors of track meets and big shoe companies revise their scouting reports. In the future, Blaskowski will have to demonstrate that this was not an isolated incident,